Critical Blast, where pop culture gets blasted.
And hello again, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And we're just going to do a little bit of an open mic night tonight. If people show up, then people show up. I'm going to put the invite link right here in the chat stream where everybody can see it, in case you didn't see it on our Twitter. Bada boom, bada bing, and there it is. All right, so yeah, we are, got a couple of things I can talk about if nobody shows up, but you know, it's always more fun if somebody jumps in and we talk comics. And during the chat up through the first hour here, we will be giving away this Beetlejuice 4K Ultra HD with the regular Blu-ray and the digital code. And just in case you're wondering, yes, it is still in the shrink wrap. No, RJ did not slip the digital code out to cheat you out of it. And as you can see in the banner running across the stream here, if you want to be entered into the giveaway for this Beetlejuice, just put into the chat, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. And what we will do, I'm just going to share my other screen here, because I've never done it like this before, so we're just going to play around with it. When you do that, I'm going to put your name on this Excel spreadsheet here in order. Okay, just it'll be your chat name, so whatever your chat name is, that's what I'll put over here. And then when we're ready to do the actual giveaway, I'm going to put in however the maximum number of entries is over here on random.org, hit the generate button, and if we have 100, then the 30-second entry on the spreadsheet, line number 32, would have been the winner. So that's how we're going to play that game. I'm not going to leave the chart up here all night long, but I'll pop it up there as needed if we have to enter somebody. If I miss you, just keep slamming me until I get it. I don't want to leave anybody out, but hopefully that won't be the case. Speaking of DVDs, hey, Bap, good to see you in the chat there. Always glad to see you pop in here. We watched, and we will be publishing a review tomorrow on this one right here, Superman Man of Tomorrow. And I can talk about this for a while because I inherently almost always want to like DC animated movies. It really, really has to go out of its way for me to say, okay, this was a piece of crap. And there have been some. This was not a piece of crap. This was also not a stellar effort. I've seen a lot of people talking about the animation on this one. And yeah, the animation it's okay. The artwork is okay. It has definitely got an Archer style to it. The lines on it are super thick for the borders on bodies and items. So it's definitely got a very coloring book kind of line work to it. But generally, I always like to look at the story, what's going on in the story that I'm listening to, that I'm playing in my head here, making sense of. This is sort of like the Superman the Animated Series 2-part episode, The Main Man, where Lobo first appears in that cartoon series. And in fact, those are the 2 cartoons that are the bonus features on this Blu-ray set. If you are a fan of the Bruce Timm-verse, then Jason, you're close. You got to get it 3 times. Get that in there, Jason. This movie is Superman has not revealed himself to the public yet. He's still flying around in a bomber jacket and an aviator helmet with goggles, no cape. And he ends up getting a cape because Ma Kent thinks that it looks really nice on that nice Batman fellow that she's always seeing in the papers. So there's been no meeting of any of the other superpowered characters in the universe at the time that Superman Man of Tomorrow opens up. That changes quickly. What happens is that Lobo comes to Earth, and he is been tasked to collect the last Kryptonian. Very much, again, like the Main Man episodes in Superman animated series. This leads to a knockdown, drag-out fight all across Metropolis, which at one point leaves Superman naked because he flies up to recharge with the sun, sort of like Birdman. It's almost like, if you watch the old Birdman series when his chest alert starts beeping, oh, you're out of power, and he's got to fly up and recharge in the sun and come back down. Superman has to do that. He has to fly higher than the atmosphere so he gets full sunlight, and he just kind of spreads his arms and soaks it all in, and then he zips down super powered, extra charged, and his clothes burn off. Eric, I don't know what you are talking about, the Landis miniseries. Because this is what I'm talking about here, and then of course, unless you're talking about the giveaway, I'm talking about the Beetlejuice giveaway, and Jason is in there. I'm going to take a quick moment here to add that back to the stream, and we are going to make very clear that Jason is in the running for that. So Beetlejuice in the chat if you want to be entered for the giveaway. So yeah, Superman's clothes burn off because he's wearing the aviator costume. Oh, kind of like that. He is kind of wearing that aviator suit that we saw in an American Alien. So yeah, I'm sure they did pull it from there. I liked that one, by the way. It was a different take, but it wasn't an awful take. Obviously, Superman gets away from Lobo. Lobo takes off to regroup because he's, bit off a little bit more than he can chew, but he's the main man. He's indestructible, just as much as Superman is. But one of the things that happens here is that, first of all, while he's fighting Lobo, he gets help from an unexpected source. The Martian Manhunter shows up. This is how he introduces himself. And he introduces himself in his Martian form. So now the whole world is afraid of aliens because they've just seen everybody, this horrible Martian. No, Bap, I did not see your entry for Beetlejuice, but I will make sure that I get it on there. So the other fallout of the Superman Lobo fight is that Lobo throws this bomb out at Superman that has this goo in it. And the goo covers up a janitor who we meet early on, Rudy Jones. And Rudy Jones is, of course, the parasite in the Superman mythos. And this purple goo is what turns him into the parasite, who, of course, absorbs powers and abilities and energy from anyone he touches. In this particular case, Parasite's leaving a lot of dried out, dead husks in his wake. He is killing people with a touch. He's hungry, which is bad because Rudy was a nice guy. Back to it might be YouTube. I don't know if YouTube is going to see something like Beetlejuice as spam or not. If anybody else runs into that problem, let me know. We'll come up with an alternative way. Maybe just saying it one time will just have to be the case. I was trying to make it fun, but these things, sometimes we have to work at the whims of Google and the YouTubers. So that's the real big crux of this thing, is that Superman's going to be depowered by the parasite, survives the attack. He's going to have to get help from an in-prison Lex Luthor, and how Luthor ends up in prison is something that happens at the beginning of the film here. With Lois Lane is being introduced to Clark. Clark is working at the Daily Planet as coffee boy. He's not even an aspiring reporter yet. He's sort of an intern. So he's very, very ground level introduction of the characters here. Ultimately, Parasite gets so big that this cover doesn't even do it justice. Parasite takes on kaiju level powers. He's as tall as the nuclear power plant that he's getting ready to attack. And he doesn't really attack it as much as it's been sabotaged by Luthor to be a lure for the parasite to see the energy and be drawn to it. Unfortunately, it's actually going to blow, and Superman appeals to Rudy inside the parasite about his wife and his child that he's, was always wanting to get back to. And the parasite ultimately saves the day by absorbing the leaking radioactivity to a point that he overloads and ashes up and just crumbles away to dust, and the parasite is gone, and Luthor is back in prison. And then there at the end of it, it's Superman, the Martian Manhunter, and Lobo just kind of standing there looking out at the horizon. We're all aliens and we're the last of our kinds. And, Martian Manhunter says, well, I'll see you later. And Lobo says, later, dudes, and flies off. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Lobo is directly responsible for a lot of these deaths. I mean, never mind the collateral damage in which surely somebody was injured. But the fact that he infected Rudy Jones with this parasite ability that resulted in at least 5 people being killed that we see on screen, and to just let him fly off. Now, I don't know what Superman would do. I don't know how they would ever justify that, because Lobo always gets away with whatever it is he's working on. He was a bad guy that everyone liked to see win. That's always been Lobo. But it was very unsatisfying. Secondly, we don't know who put the bounty out on Superman in the first place. Lobo's always on a bounty. So that threat is still out there. Was it Brainiac? Was it the Collector, like it was in the Bruce Timm series? We don't know. It's left unanswered. All this really does is introduce Superman wearing the Superman costume. That's it. That's the movie. Thick Archer-like lines. Kind of animation is pretty much the same. So I'm disappointed with the story. A lot of slobber knocker in there. Lex Luthor was interesting. He goes to jail not because of what Superman does or discovers, but of what Lois Lane does and discovers, and she's the one who puts him in jail. He's let out because Superman says I need his help, and Luthor's like, well, I'll arrange a day pass, and Superman's like, it doesn't quite work that way, and we found out that Luthor can basically get out anytime he wants. He's in charge of a lot of people, but he has to stay in prison because everyone knows he's in prison. And of course, he's looking for the way to take advantage of the situation by obtaining kryptonite to take down the parasite, who would absorb Superman's weaknesses as well as his strengths. That being the case, I would think if parasite just absorbed another normal human, you could shoot him, but that doesn't seem to be on the thought processes of the writers. Anyway. It was good to watch. It's probably not good for watching twice. I don't know that I would go out and buy it. If I could stream it one time, I would do that. Make up your own minds. It's got its good points and bad points. Superman's core character. I agree, Eric. And if your name's not a pseudonym, which I can tell that you probably are very, very closely following the Superman mythos and a fan. Everyone says Superman's hard to write. No, Superman is the easiest character to write because Superman, he has a very solid set of ideals. And it's not that Superman is hard to write. I think it's that writers have a hard time empathizing with that solid set of ideals these days. Because, all the writers want Superman to think of what they think is right. And you had, Dean Cain in the news recently saying that, if he were playing the role today, he wouldn't be allowed to say truth, justice, and the American way. And there was a big brouhaha about that came up, people debating and arguing because, nobody wants to come out and say that Superman should be clear-cut right and wrong. They want to play with these shades of gray. They want him to have doubts about himself. Mark Waid was the best at presenting Superman, I think. Now, whether you like Mark Waid personally or not is a different matter, but in Kingdom Come, when Superman's standing in front of the crowd of all these assembled heroes and villains and anti-heroes that are just basically powered people causing havoc. He says, there's a right and there's a wrong, and the distinction is not difficult to make. And that's the quintessential Superman line. You look at something and you say, this is the right way, this is the wrong way, choose the right way, and that's what Superman's going to do. Now, of course, the plot of Kingdom Come got thicker than that, and the whole point was that Superman gets to a point where he's like, I'm not qualified to make this decision because there's a third option here that I'm not thinking of. Billy Batson used the wisdom of Solomon, and you make the decision. You do what's the right thing to do. And that's exactly what happens. All right. So we have 2 people in the giveaway, Jason and Bap, for our Beetlejuice so far. We are running another giveaway on the website right now. We're using the Rafflecopter engine for that, sort of a traffic driver there. We are giving away Emperor on DVD, and there's an entry form for that on criticalblast.com. Emperor is inspired by the legend of Shield's Emperor Green, a descendant of African kings turned outlaw slave in this pre-Civil War South. Seeking freedom for his family, Emperor fights his way north, joining the daring raid on Harper's Ferry and helping alter the course of American history. So, and tagline here is that Emperor is Taken meets Django Unchained. So if that's something you'd like to get in the running for, head over to criticalblast.com. It's in our contest section. You just click on that and jump right in. Nobody jumping in to promote their comics tonight, but we will have other people on as the week progresses. Monday night, we are going to have, I bring this up because I actually have one that looks like the character. We're going to have Graham Nolan on to promote the Shanu. So that will be a lot of fun. And then the week after that, which is looking way, way out, we're going to have Doug Ernst on. Looks like we're going to have him on Monday night on September the 7th. Last night, we had Mike Barron jump in and join us with the LCS Guys. The LCS Guys is a bi-weekly Saturday night show where we have different comic shop owners from around the country get together and chew the fat, talk about what's going on in the industry from their perspectives. And Mike was there to talk with us about Florida Man, his Indiegogo project, which looks like a lot of fun, and about being blacklisted in the industry for being conservative. It's always interesting to talk to these truly legends in the industry. They've written a lot of stuff. They've drawn a lot of stuff, and I don't know. I think a lot of them are being discarded by the mainstream industry these days because they're the old guard. They've done their thing. True story. 1989, I was at Chicago Comic-Con, and I went into one of the little. This is back when it was still a comic book convention, by the way, folks. It was like there was nothing but comic books all over the place. And I turned into one of the little side rooms. It was like an artist's alley kind of thing, just tables up against the wall, small room. And there's this giant painting on canvas of the Golden Age Green Lantern. And there at the table, no lines, was Sheldon Moldoff and his wife. Nobody lined up. I got to sit there and talk with Sheldon Moldoff forever. And this was about the same time that DC was reviving, once again, the Justice Society of America as a comic book. This was way before the Johns run. Like I said, it's 89. It's like one of these miniseries ones. And I asked him, I said, you're still drawing. You're obviously still capable of drawing. This painting is yours. It looks great. Why aren't you writing, or drawing Justice Society for DC? And I'll remember his wife always, she just kind of leaned in real close to go to the DC booth and tell them that. And I did. I went to Dick Giordano. I'm like, hey, he's over here. Can you get him back in there? I know that a lot of the old timers are doing their own thing here and there. Some of them are on their own. Some of them have joined Comicsgate. Some of them are just trying as a side business. Can you imagine if if the Mike Barons and the John Burns and just all those people who are not working for the big two anymore just came together under one house and just put out like old guard comics, I would buy the hell out of that. Just to get those artists and writers back together again. Yeah, Mike Barron's Flash run. We talked about that when I had him on the show as a guest. He's been on the show a couple of times now, and I did love his Flash run. I particularly liked the physics that he employed because that was the first time when Wally West was the Flash in Flash #1. That was the first time they ever talked about how much you have to eat to be a speedster. Because you were burning up so many calories, and you really put it away. This is what, and that got carried over into the Flash television show with John Wesley Shipp. He was like eating, just piling it all in. Now they do that once, and they even in the Flash television show now they did that once just to say yes, he does this, but you never see him doing it all the time. Kara eats far more donuts on Supergirl than Barry eats pizzas on the Flash. He should be eating all the time, you would think. And the other thing that came up in Barron's run on the Flash was that a superhero has to if he's a superhero full time, how does he live when he's not superheroing? What does he do for money? What does he do for insurance? So the fact that Wally West had the chutzpah to ask a hospital for health insurance in exchange for running a heart across country was something that was never really done before. Now, shortly after that, Barron sort of took away all the impediments by letting Wally win the lottery, which is like, okay, well, that makes it easier now. Now you can just superhero all the time because he's just rich. You have to be rich if you're going to be a superhero because you can't just take off from work all the time. That was one of the fun things about Superman was that he was always disappearing from work, but never getting fired for it because he was always bringing in a great story. And I think, I don't know if it was Jerry Conway. I'm going to say it was anyway. It could have been another writer. Changed that dynamic. It might have been Denny O'Neil even. I don't know. I'd have to research it. But in the Superman and the Action Comics line in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, Superman left the Daily Planet to be a television anchor with GBS under Morgan Edge. And that was really a stressor because you couldn't just say, well, I'm away from my desk on assignment when you had to be in front of the camera every night at 7 p.m. and you can't just get away to do something. And he always had to, rush out, rush in and use that super speed and take care of things fast. The animated Flash TV show. Now, Bab, I am not familiar with an animated Flash series. I've seen him do guest spots on Justice League Unlimited. I actually have the DVD of the Filmation stuff where he did the one episode with Kid Flash and they went after Blue Bolt, I think it was, which was another speedster. But if there was a Flash animated show, I would have been all over that. Yeah, Eric, I'm old too. 53. I was the new 52 last year. I'm the old 53 this year. There's nothing special about 53. But I have 27 long boxes of comics right over here to my side that are all alphabetized, bagged, and boarded and in numerical order. So one of these times, maybe I'll just do a live stream show, just dig out a random long box and start going through it and talking about the books in it. That would be kind of fun, I think. Yeah, I could do that. That would be. I'm going to give that some thought. I'm going to put the link back out here on Twitter and let people know we are live. Come talk about your comic project. And there's the studio link. Just to see if we can't get somebody to pop in here. Because let's face it, nobody wants to just listen to me talk to the screen all night long. We do have some other reviews coming up here soon. Now that I've got the Superman Man of Tomorrow out of the way, it still has to be written to go up on criticalblast.com. As you saw, I've got the Supergirl Season 5 here. I'm going to have to review it because I don't think I could give it away. Which is going to tell you where my review is going to go and what direction it's going to go. If you don't think you can give it away, then it's pretty much not well liked. Also going to be looking at the 4K Ultra for the Goonies, which I think I've seen that on cable recently, and I don't think it held up as well as it did in memory. But we'll give it a shot and see. And then these will either be giveaway or review, but it's yet to be decided. Both of the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, both on 4K Ultra Blu-rays. So we'll see what we do with that. If you want me to give them away, let me know. We'll do a giveaway, and I'll schedule it for later. Otherwise, I'll just do the reviews on them as necessary. I would love to talk about comics, but I haven't been able to get out of the cavern here for the past week or so to go buy comics. So while everybody's talking about Three Jokers, I'm sitting here thinking, man, I want to read Three Jokers. I have been waiting on Three Jokers since, I'm going to say 2015, if not 2014, because that's about the time in the Dark Side War in Justice League when Batman got the Mobius chair and asked the question, who is the Joker? And got the answer that there are three Jokers because the Mobius chair is a dick and wouldn't just say that, well, it's three people and the names are. So I just said, oh, which Joker do you want? And Batman didn't have enough time to say all of them. So that was a writer's tool to set up a mystery that just hung out there for years. And I'm glad they're finally getting to it. Yeah, the Flash has always been trying to help, depending on who the villain is. His rogues gallery in the comics, not quite so much, at least not when I was reading it. But yeah, on the television show for sure, he's doing that. Unless it's Eobard Thawne, he will not trust Eobard Thawne with anything. And history proves that he should not trust Eobard Thawne at all for any reason at all. Eric, do you want to get in on this giveaway here? Because you're one of the only other three people here. We've got two people entered in the giveaway so far. We have Jason and Bap. We got another 30 minutes here that we would run this thing. Replicator Comics. I've seen some good things about them. I like what their images look like. Have not been able to find anybody on the team to come on and talk about their comic and push it. So we would love to have them on. I like having anybody on. And that does, that's Comicsgate people, non-Comicsgate people. I've put the invitation out to some DC folk who have, gone out and done their own thing on Kickstarter. Says, hey, would you like to come on and talk about your Kickstarter thing? Eric, you're in. I'll try to put your name on here. Get this random search generator, something to do when we finally run it. But I don't know if it's because I have interviewed Comicsgate people about their books that other creators won't come on. They haven't turned me down. They just, haven't come on. So I certainly had people who are independent but not Comicsgate people come on. I don't think Mike Barron is Comicsgate. He's certainly not applying the label to it. And if he's not applying it, I'm not going to. But he's certainly no friend of the mainstream right now either. If you watch the show from last night when he joined the LCS guys, you'll hear his story about how he was just recently, like within the last 3 months, turned down for a position he was offered because he was told by the head of the entertainment corporation that that head had been approached by 15 different writers and artists in the community who said that they would not work with Mike, which is pretty much how this blacklisting thing has been going on. And that is a real shame. Again, I think all these people who are outside of the mainstream who have been in it before and have turned in legendary work, I would love to bring them all together under one house and just say, work together. That would be the true next generation image. Bap, was that on the television show? That were you talking about the Flash? Was that the TV show, or was that in one of the comic books? So that is a cool kind of situation where it's like, I'm in a bar, I'm getting ready to go on a rampage, and I just get stopped. Yeah, here's the thing. I am pro CG, Eric. I'm also pro DC, and I'm pro Marvel, and I'm pro Zoetrope, Zenoscope. Zoetrope's another entirely different thing. Pro Zenoscope, pro Dynamite. I'm pro Kaboom. I am basically just anti bullying zealots. If as soon as somebody says that they don't like, if somebody says I don't like this person's work, then that's fine. They don't like their work. If they say I don't like this person's politics, then fine, don't do that. But if you start, trying to dig up every kind of dirt you can on somebody, I think prime example of this is it's always Tess Fowler. When the brouhaha came up this week, where one of the artists made a comment about the Kenosha shooting, and basically said that the guy operated in self-defense and he was very brave. Well, then, all the usual suspects came out and said this guy has to be canceled now because he had an opinion that's not the right opinion. And every time something like that happens, it's Tess Fowler is always like a clock, just like, well, he's been going this way for years and we all knew it. And it seems to be true whether it's like somebody who has a conservative opinion or somebody who's been, raping underage fans at conventions. Oh, we all knew it was going for years, but we thought it was, So, yeah, Andrew Robinson. Andrew Robinson has not come out for Comicsgate. He's not going to have to come out for Comicsgate because he's going to end up like a lot of these other people who are in Comicsgate. They didn't get drawn into it. They got pushed into it. And it'll be the thing where it's like, they're just going to call him Comicsgate so much that he'll probably end up saying, well, fuck it, I'm Comicsgate. Because Comicsgate will welcome him. And, he'll find out that, no, you don't have to go harassing somebody over something, over race, religion, gender, orientation, what have you, because guess what? Most people don't do that. I think every group gets judged by its lowest common denominators sometimes. So, you have an asshole in one group that says something and he uses the group's hashtag when he says it, well, then the group is all that. And that's just not the case. And it's Shakespeare said it best, the evil that men do live after them, the good is often tarred with their bones. So no matter what good people in Comicsgate do, the bad are the ones that, represent the group to the public facing, or at least the mainstream facing of it. Yeah, I think you're right, Eric. It's going to happen to a lot of them, and it's going to happen to a lot of them real soon here. As soon as these layoffs start coming in, we're going to find out people who, I think you're going to find a lot of people who have been operating in silence in the industry because they've been afraid that they would lose their job if they came out and had an opinion. When they have nothing left to lose, then they'll be saying, oh, good, I don't have to worry about, the guy in the cube next to me trying to, spread rumors and get me fired. I'm already without a job. I've got nothing left to lose. This is what I believe. This is what I want to draw. This is what I want to create. And they'll start getting funded by, we, the people who have been crowdfunding comics. Crowdfunding comics is another thing that it's a new phenomenon. And I wanted to bring this up over here. So I just moved it over to my screen. I have no idea what this means to anybody or what it's for, but apparently if you're, and I'm just going to pick one off the top here. Obviously, if I've referred them out, I already like them to some degree. We'll look at the Ardana Legendary Edition here because Wyatt's done some good things for me with formatting covers for the books that we publish, and I owe him. So I'm going to make sure I, treat him right here. But a lot of times, whenever I tweet out a link to an Indiegogo, and y'all are probably the same way, Hey, I grab it up here. There's my link. I copy, I paste. I go to Twitter and say, hey, look what I just backed. If you don't, of course, do the whole share right after you back it. But what I found out is that if you click this one and get this IGG me and use that, well, then that is what ends up in, come on, drop down here. You go to my contributions, and I don't have anything on here that's going to dox me, so I don't really care. Yes, Belleville, Illinois. In fact, let me just go ahead and completely dox myself. We have these stickers here. We've been giving these away to anybody who wants one. It's a 3-inch holofoil sticker, and I will send out 2 of them in an envelope if you send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Critical Blast, 1097 Prestwick Drive, Belleville, Illinois, 62221. I say I'll send you 2 of them because I know that you'll use at least one, and if you don't use the other, you'll give it to somebody else, and then I basically monetize you into being my advertising network. And hopefully y'all don't mind doing that. But again, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to that address, and I will make sure that I send you 2 of those nice holofoil stickers that come from Sticker Mule. But anyway, I was showing the screen here. Anyway, if you use that chain link that's on there, then that actually, if somebody clicks on it and goes out and backs a product, you get credit for that. Now, by credit, it's really just saying, it's not like monetary credit. You don't earn discount towards some funding in the future that Indiegogo goes in and say, hey, we're going to give you 10% off on it. It'd be nice, but you can at least see and track here what you have accomplished. So I can say, hey, look, I got 3 people to buy Walmart Gold Standard, and I think I've only tweeted that out once. Same with Common America. But yeah, if you use that chain for the linking that you share out, then you'll start getting tracking here on how many people are following you. Now, this could be something where if you had a project that you were crowdfunding and you wanted to reward people who were getting the word out for you, you might be able to have them send in these screens and say, hey, look, I did get 3 people to come in on you, and then you could get like 3 entries into some sort of giveaway or what have you, or whoever did the most might get some sort of a bonus perk in their project. It's just it's something interesting, I think, in Indiegogo that I haven't really heard about. I kind of stumbled onto it by accident because I was just looking at the campaigns and the contributions, and I said, what's this referrals? And this came up here, and I knew that I hadn't backed all of them because I simply can't. I make a finite amount of money, just like all of you. And this is interesting that there were 3 contributions to Walmart, and it's only been $21. So they must have got the PDF version of that, I suppose. Anyway, that's just kind of something that I thought I'd share out and show you that this is something that exists. Something else that exists that I want to make sure that everybody gets, and this is in the description below, by the way, is this book. Now, Critical Blast is a website and a review site and a YouTube channel and a Twitter account, but we are also a publishing industry. So The Devil You Know is our latest paperback anthology that we finished up about a month and a half ago, I want to say, finally produced. It's 370 pages here. This is several short stories, 20 to be exact, by different authors from around the world. They are truly global, and they're all short stories about encounters with Old Scratch, the devil. And I liked the cover so much that we got from BO Books that I decided that we're going to do 2 more of these over the course of the next couple of years, simply because I think that fist holding take it the right one up. No, let's do it this way. Would look great on The Devil You Know Better going like this, and then get a 3rd one like that. We'll do 3 of them, and I told them to keep that artwork. We're going to reuse it. Bianca, thank you for joining the chat here. We're just kind of talking about people being kicked out of comics for stupid reasons. You missed our review on Superman Man of Tomorrow, which was mediocre. The film, that is, not the review. The review was top notch. It was stellar. I do great work. Always do. So I guess Sunday night's just not a night that anybody is going to go on stream and promote their book, though, at least not without planning. Also, Bianca, by the way, we are giving away this Beetlejuice 4K. And if you just follow along down here, you'll see what we're doing and how we're doing that. So what else is on everybody's minds today? I mean, there's certainly something going on in comics. One of the things that I've heard about, I haven't researched it yet to get the exact news on it, but I was talking to somebody who looked up from their phone and said, oh yeah, here it is. So it might be real, is that DC is going to mine the old Alan Moore archives again. And they're going to do his Twilight of the Superheroes. Now, for those who don't know, when Kingdom Come came out, and I was talking about that earlier, Kingdom Come borrowed heavily from a treatment that Alan Moore had turned in for a sort of same apocalyptic superhero story where, this is where it all ends. And I remember reading it. This would have been about 2001 that I was reading it online on the baby internet. And it was kind of cool. You had all the superheroes had basically gone into different houses like Dune, dynasties. So you had the House of Superman and the House of Shazam, and they were all at war with each other. So it became this sort of a Game of Thrones with capes. It'll be interesting seeing if Alan Moore ever turned in a full script on that, or if they're just going to take his treatment and have somebody else write it. But I think DC, out of all the mainstream publishers right now, given everything that happened with the pandemic and the way that businesses had to close and operate and find new ways to work, I think DC has come out of it the smartest. I say this because, they started putting out some better books, in my opinion, that had more people's interest. They found a way to get around this whole Diamond shutdown, get out of their contract with that. And, now they've got comics coming out on Tuesday. They got their books coming out a day ahead of Marvel. So that's, it's putting Marvel on their toes, I think. Now, Marvel hasn't done anything yet that I've seen that's shows that they've learned anything from this at all. They're just, back to business as usual. I would predict, even after the layoffs, within a year, I think DC might be outselling Marvel. I think that there's some burnout going on with the Marvel movies. Hopefully the DC movies will, pick up. That might drive some sales. I mean, here's the thing about the DC movies versus the Marvel movies is that when you watch a Batman film and you decide that you want to go in and buy a Batman comic, Batman's actually in the Batman comics. When the Captain America film came out and people came in to buy Captain America, well, that Captain America was a Nazi. When they came in to buy the Thor film, or when they saw Thor and they came in to buy Thor comics, that Thor was a woman. It wasn't the same character. Marvel was basically running billion-dollar advertisements for products they didn't sell anymore. That's something DC's not having a problem with. Yeah, you're right, though. Most of their other stuff is a mess. And I think it's not the writers. The writers that DC has are talented people. It's not to say that Marvels aren't talented either, but I'm more of a DC guy, so I can speak to that more clear-headedly. I think it's editorial. If Dick Giordano and Denny O'Neil were, looking down at all this today, they'd be aghast, I think. And one of the biggest examples I always bring up is Doomsday Clock. When Doomsday Clock was running, Doomsday Clock should have been a whole other story than what it was. And I think it was going to be. And I'm going to try to... I'm going to try to show something here. Bear with me just a moment while I try to bring it up and see if I can figure out how to do this. Yeah, that looks like it's going to work. The other browser gave me trouble when I tried to do this. Okay. All right, got that set up. I'll bring that up in just a second here. Yeah, exactly. Bap, you went to get Iron Man comics, and you got Iron Heart. Iron Man was a little girl suddenly, and it's Marvel didn't learn their lesson. And of course, the thing to remember is that they were working with the lesser tier books. So it was the big sellers for Marvel were always Spider-Man and X-Men and Fantastic Four, and they'd sold the rights off to those and they couldn't use them, so they had to work with lesser stuff. But Doomsday Clock, I know that editorial went through a shakeup as Jeff Johns was getting started on Doomsday Clock, and I think that altered the story that he was in the process of writing. And the reason I say that is because Dr. Manhattan's power set was completely out of line with what was established in Watchmen. Now, Dr. Manhattan certainly looked all powerful in Watchmen, but if you recall, Dr. Manhattan felt like he was not powerful at all as far as making choices about things. Everything was predestined to him. He did not travel in time. He could see in time, but he could only do that to places he had already been and had a perspective on. It's not like he could say, it's 1938 and I'm in a field in Kansas, because he wasn't in a field in Kansas in 1938. So he couldn't see that. Whereas in Doomsday Clock, he's just traveling willy-nilly around the DC universe and making changes here and there. And nobody stopped to question, why is all of a sudden he able to time travel? Well, the reason that he should be able to time travel goes to what the story, I believe, was originally going to be. Now, I've not had Jeff Johns on to talk about this. This is pure conjecture and theory. But what we saw with the end of Watchmen was Dr. Manhattan regaining interest in human life. And he's leaving Adrian here, and he says, yes, I have. I think perhaps I'll create some. Goodbye, Adrian. Where that should have jumped to immediately for Doomsday Clock was here. This is, of course, the big pale blue hand we first saw it in Green Lantern 40, which I own, by the way, where Krona of Oa, who are also all light pale blue creatures and also the oldest creatures in the universe, witnessed the birth of creation. If that were indeed the hand of Dr. Manhattan creating the DC universe and the first race of people in his own image, then yes, Dr. Manhattan could have existed in all the different times and places of the DC universe so that he could make changes to it. And why the DC universe is always getting rebooted is because he hasn't got it right yet. He's still trying to learn about humanity. He keeps screwing it up. So that's my theory on where Doomsday Clock was supposed to go. And, I think Dan DiDio came in and took over when they had serious problems with the first editor on there who had to be let go from the company. And I think he steered it in a direction where it just became a hodgepodge mess. The other thing that makes me think that it was supposed to be bigger was you had all this theory, the Superman theory going on in here. You had came right out and said, that Firestorm was a government project, that Professor Stein knew exactly what was going to happen when he made this happen, and he was directed to. Under Dick Giordano, every masthead in the DC universe would have had Doomsday Clock above its main title, and they'd have all been tie-ins, and you'd have seen all these riots in different books and the characters having to deal with, am I a real superhero or was I a plant by the government? And the same with the villains. That should have been a sprawling, epic event, and it got shunted off into this little side pocket where it doesn't matter to anybody. And I'd really love to get Jeff Johns on the show and go into detail with him on this. I don't know if he'd be available. I will continue to pursue it because I think it would be a great discussion. Yeah, exactly. I loved it until I realized they were throwing it away. It was meaning nothing. It's almost like it didn't even occur in the DC universe. And we know it has to have, because the button was in main continuity with the Flash and Batman crossing over. We never really figured out why the button appeared in the cave. They didn't get to explore that. It was just there. Well, why not? He dug it out of the wall of the Batcave. Well, why? Why is it there? And now we're in, Death Metal, which I've seen the first issue of that, and that is a mess. I'm sorry. I'm sure there's a lot of cool concepts going in there, but there is not a cohesive story happening at all here. This is just, this is Scott Snyder trying to be Grant Morrison with throwing out, invisible chainsaws. Well, sure, why not? But to get back to the Doomsday Clock aspect of it, you have Wally West now wearing the pale blue outfit and the Dr. Manhattan symbol on his forehead. So there's still some sort of Doomsday Clock Fallout tie-in happening. The artwork in Doomsday Clock was phenomenal. And if you want to read it now as a standalone and not as a DC Universe event, then that works. That's something you can get a hold of. But I liked event comics. I would have bought every single one of those DC books that had a Doomsday Clock masthead on it. I did that when Crisis on Infinite Earths happened. I was there concurrently with the event. I did that for every other DC event that ever happened. I bought everything of Invasion and Millennium, and Millennium was gag-worthy. I finally, Heroes in Crisis was the first Crisis book of DC that I ever bought that I quit buying midway through. So that's, I wouldn't finish it. I wouldn't give them the money on it anymore. So that was how bad that one got for me. Because I am a DC, you can see behind me here, I've got DC statues. Of course, I've got a Spider-Man cookie jar because Spider-Man cookie jar because somebody gave it to me. But everything else up here is DC. It's DC's my jam. Crisis, I loved Crisis. I loved what they did. I thought it was unnecessary because I didn't understand why everybody else wasn't smart enough to figure out that multiple universes were a thing and this is how they work. I know that was the goal, was to condense it all down and make it one universe, make it new reader friendly, so the new readers didn't have to think about the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky bridge. But I thought it was fun, and apparently I was right, because what the writers have done now is they had to go back to a multiverse, and it's worked wonderful for the Flash. And DC's the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover was a huge event for the CW network, and it was our first glimpse at Stargirl was in the closing credits of that when they showed the multiverse coming back around again. Stargirl, by the way, if you have not streamed it, watch that. I know that a lot of the CW shows get a bad rap, and I know that Stargirl is going to be full CW next season. Was just getting the rebroadcast from DC streaming service this year. But Stargirl, Jeff Johns has a very tight control on that one, apparently, as a showrunner. And the costumes are great. You get the flashbacks to the original Justice Society members. The paraphernalia that you're going to see a Green Lantern. It's going to be called the most powerful weapon in the universe. You're going to see the pink ink pen that is housing the Thunderbolt. All the stuff. If you're a fan of the classic DC universe and a fan of Jeff Johns' run on Stargirl, then get it. It also has a completely different tone to it than the other DC shows do. It's a very, very optimistic show. It's very cheery. It's very family friendly. So this is one where if you have kids that you want to get into watching superhero shows with, and you can't sit down with your 12 years or under kids to say, hey, Batwoman's on, maybe not that one. Okay, well, the Flash is okay. Well, they're doing that this season. Stargirl's your thing. I cannot recommend that one nearly enough. So we have been at this for about an hour, and I have to applaud your stick-to-itiveness for hanging around with me here. We have 3 people entered into the Beetlejuice giveaway. I know that there were people who were on Twitter saying, hey, I'm going to be there because I want that thing. Well, you've got 4 minutes to get here and get in and put into the chat here, Beetlejuice, 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 for your name to get entered onto this spreadsheet. And then we will randomly use the random.org page to pick from 1 through 3, make it 1 through 4. Marvel disappointed with the collected Godzilla. Yeah, Marvel had Godzilla for a while, didn't they? And we were talking with the LCS guys too that Marvel's getting Ultraman. So they're going to be doing the Ultraman comics, which is Dave Dyer at Cosmic Comics. That's his big thing. He loves the kaiju and the Ultraman and Godzilla. Baptu, if you've been watching our LCS shows, check out Cosmic Comics Belleville on Twitter. He always has something Godzilla going on there, and Godzilla makes up a huge part of his store. So his online store is something you might be very interested in checking out. Now, I don't think that Ultraman is going to be part of the 616 Marvel Universe, though. So that's what I've been told. I've also been told it's a little confusing because one of the covers shows Spider-Man sitting on his shoulder, but Spider-Man appears in every new Marvel comic, and sometimes it's a universe crossover, or sometimes it's a guy in a costume playing Spider-Man at a parade. But Spider-Man is always going to make some sort of an appearance with a first issue big thing like that to put it out. I would love Ultraman to be in the Marvel 616 because Godzilla was in the Marvel 616. He had I forget what story he was in, but he did appear alongside regular Marvel Comics characters in their regular Marvel Comics, as did the Shogun Warriors, who were some of the original mechs back in the 80s for American audiences. I know there were mechs earlier than that in Japanese anime, but some of the ones that made it big at the time here in the States were the Shogun Warriors. So Dave Dyer, Cosmic Comics Belleville is his Twitter. Let me make sure I get that to you. Oh, now wait a second, Jason. I'm just now seeing your tweet. Your son played Maximus, like he played the character on the show. That is very cool. Would love to talk with him about those experiences. And I need to watch more of the Inhumans as well. Yeah. Okay. Here's the full link to the Cosmic Comics one. Boom. So it's Cosmic Comics Illinois. Belleville is a suburb of St. Louis on the Illinois side here. Cosmic Comics is my local comic shop, and I love the way it's set up. It's like comics in the front. It's got some T-shirts. It's got all the Funko Pops, and then all the Godzilla toys and setup. And then there's like a coffee shop off to the side here with a couch and a couple of chairs. big screen TV. It's always running a Godzilla movie or an Ultraman movie or a Gamera movie. You just pop in, sit down, buy some comics, get a cup of coffee, sit down and watch TV for a while and chat nerd stuff. I can't think of a better way to spend 8 hours on a Saturday than to sit down with like-minded folk. And it's almost like church. You just sit down and enjoy the fellowship, as they would say, with your fellow comics geekers. Yeah, young Maximus. That's very cool, though. I'm gonna go look for him now. I don't know if the Inhumans is that on DVD yet? Because if it is, I'll put that in my cart. I don't want to look too much at Twitter here because Twitter is a mind suck. And I will forget that I'm streaming and start yelling at my screen again. That's not something I want to do. All right, top of the hour. I promised that after 1 hour, we would do this thing and find out who's going to get this. So between Jason Fisk, BAP2, Eric Kent, going once, going twice, going 3 times here, not seeing anybody else in the chat putting names in, we're going to go to random.org. We're going to say, give us a random number between 1 and 3. And I'm going to make sure that I add it to the stream so everyone can see it happen. Hopefully you can see it happen. It looks kind of tiny to me. 1 and 3, don't worry about that 32. That was me testing it with the 1 through the 100 earlier when I showed y'all how it worked. So generate that random number now. The random number is 1. Number 1 went to, hey, it's Jason Fisk. So Jason, Beetlejuice is all yours. Yeah, well, BAP2, you've spent a lot of money on our channel with the guests we brought on, and I appreciate you making me look good. So, but getting some Transformers and Mega Man figures, that's also very cool. I would love to get that. So Jason, if you are on you are on Twitter, you just tweeted me a picture. We've just been talking about this. This is where my mind goes after I turn 53. DM us where you would like this sent, so that we're not doxing you or nothing. Let us know where you want us to put it, and we'll get it in the mail. Drop it off your way, and you'll get it hopefully by the end of the week. So, surprising everybody, including myself, I've been able to actually carry on a conversation for an hour with nobody else on the stream. It's almost like I'm getting better at this. It's a good thing I didn't take notes. Anyhow, we appreciate everybody being here. Always happy to see people in the chat. Great to talk comics, current, old stuff. Said maybe next time I will dig open one of these white boxes here and just start digging into it and having conversations about random items I pull out of the boxes here. So with that in mind, I want to thank you guys for showing up, and we will be back tomorrow night with Graham Nolan to talk The Chenoo, and we hope that you will be here. Thanks again, guys. Good night. Hi. Thanks for stopping by for another Critical Blast video. The internet is a big place, and we know there are lots of other places you could be other than here, and we appreciate you being here immensely. If you enjoyed this kind of content, we hope you'll return for more. If you click the subscribe button, you'll get a little notification of when we produce new video content. If you would like to help the channel out, there are many ways to do so. Just visiting our main hub, criticalblast.com, will do wonders. But if you're more of a show me the merchandise type of person, there are links in the description of this video to our t-shirt shop, as well as links to Amazon for the books we publish under the Critical Blast Publishing imprint, including the urban fantasy anthology Gods and Services and the YA superhero novel Bulletproof by Stephen J. Mitchell. Thanks again for visiting this video. We hope you had a blast.